Hand it off to John to do the intros, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. Thank you everybody for joining. So John Geiger, I'm Regional Vice President for Oracle Applications. I manage diversified industry space, which is largely comprised of nonprofit and as well as many other industries. But thank you all for joining today. I want to thank the Red Cross team for joining and sharing their experience. I also want to thank Apps Associates. They're one of our most trusted partners in the space for helping coordinate the event and supporting Red Cross through their journey. We're trying to make a habit out of doing these types of engagements, the community engagements, a little bit more regularly. So hopefully this is one of many similar events that you'll be seeing here in the near future. Also, I think most of you hopefully should have your chocolates. For those of you who didn't, we'll find a way hopefully to get you something after the event. But yeah, I hope everybody's looking forward to the EPM content and a little bit of fun with the chocolate tasting experience along with it. Also, we considered doing this completely in a webinar format, but we thought everybody might benefit from opening the lines at some point to get some kind of direct dialogue going. So I think we should be able to open up the mics here at some point in the presentation so everybody can participate. But if you have any questions or comments that you want to add through chat before then, please feel free, and we'll be monitoring the chat. But with that, yeah, I'll pass it over to Laura.
Well, good afternoon or morning from wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Laura Kay. I'm one of the Vice President of Sales here at Apps Associates, and I get the pleasure of introducing our panelists today. Carrie Steck is Senior Director of Business Applications from Red Cross. Jennifer Klein is Principal Director of Business Applications at Red Cross. And David, our chocolatier, will be logging in about halfway through, and we call him Willy Wonka. Kyle Gamble is going to lead the conversation. He's our Senior Director of our EPM practice here at Apps Associates. But what would a webinar be without a brief commercial from our sponsor? So Apps Associates has been doing this Oracle thing for over 20 years. Whether you're just getting started in your Oracle journey or whether you're a seasoned Oracle user, we have a breadth of services that are here to support you. So if you look at advisory, it's maybe you have an idea of what a cloud roadmap needs to look like. Or maybe you're looking for somebody that is going to help you move on-premise applications to cloud applications, leveraging Oracle's cloud infrastructure. Or you really just want to use the entire Oracle Fusion stack with its nifty AI already embedded in it. Lastly, we help with white glove service and support once you are live, whether that's just incident resolution or keeping you current with enhancements and all of your quarterly releases. You can count on us for managed services and support. At Apps Associates, we've got over 1,200 employees globally. All of them are cloud certified, and they are distributed throughout every time zone to support your needs. We have over 430 cloud implementations live, and of that, 150 of them are on Oracle EPM Cloud. Today, we're going to talk about Oracle EPM Cloud and how it really can be a finance transformation tool. So Kyle, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Fantastic. Kyle Gamble, director here, focusing on the office of the CFO. So we have today's agenda, which is really kind of broken down into 3 sections. I'm going to kind of give a current trends and solutions in the area that's going to kind of be broken down into what are we currently seeing in the economics and how that's impacting FP&A, what tools are available, and then, of course, if we didn't have a webinar that mentioned AI and the drumbeat that's going on right now, we need to address that as well. That'll be about 10 minutes or so. Then we're going to dive in and have a conversation with the Red Cross on what they're doing today. And that'll be questions and then discussion, allowing you to ask questions as we go along as well. Finally, we're going to end up for the second half of the hour. We're going to have some fun doing a chocolate tasting. If you haven't done it, it's similar to wine tasting or other kind of tastings out there. So you're going to have a lot of fun. So with that, let me walk through let me give you 2 seconds on a background for me, is that companies are starving for insights, but drowning in data. I hear this everywhere I go. And what's interesting is I've been hearing that since before I had grays. And that's what got me into this business, was trying to flip the 80-20 paradigm. I talked about it forever that we spend time doing data downloads, manipulation of data, to then do some ifs and VLOOKUPs to finally be able to put things together for a report. Then we get the report right, then we do something of value with it. And no matter where I say that, everybody nods ahead. A couple of years ago, Gartner came out and proved me correct that 70% of the time, that is what organizations do still to this day. So with that, there is the platform, which, Oracle is being a sponsor, and I do focus on the EPM space, which is the focus of the CFO, that will come into consideration from a tool that helps you organize that stuff. So we'll talk about that. Right now, I want to make sure that we talk about our current trends that are going on. And that is one of the current trends, and it's been the trend since I think the beginning of time, because we've become, and the FP&A and the accounting worldview, numbers are becoming more and more important to make decisions for the business. So we become more and more decision partners with the business. And we need to be able to make sure that we can respond to that. Whether you're a nonprofit or in the growth industry, that's the beauty of this conversation here at the Red Cross is they are a nonprofit, but they also have a business operation side, which I know Carrie will jump into. But when you go and give blood, it's a business that helps collect blood, process it, and sell it to hospitals, that provides funds for the Red Cross to then go do their humanitarian effort. So they are a business and a nonprofit all swirled together. So they can speak to both sides of this house, where you do need to have good organizational, operational controls on both sides. So what's great with this is today, what's going on in the industry, when you go through financial, instability going on, this is more the economic instability. We've had a roller coaster ride since even this year, whether it be from tariffs to economic wars to real wars. Things are changing around a lot. We have, I would say, a volatile market, and we'll go through that. The need to be able to have data at your fingertips is very important. And finally, the expanded responsibilities of finance. So let me hit you with a bunch of stats. I'm not going to read them. You can read through them as you look at this one. At the end of the day, nonprofit is a big sector of the economy, and that the dollars that are invested are important. And then when you are a nonprofit, most of these are nonprofit related. We'll have more general FP&A here in a minute. But if you are in that space, what drives it is what I loved about working with the Red Cross was you were doing things to help enable their mission. And that's what finance is about in any organization, but it's even more important when it comes to a nonprofit, because you're doing good work. And the question is how do we make sure the finances are there and available and ready to be able to meet the needs? So whether that be things like making sure that you have the recurring revenue from your donors that give more than other things, do we have that set up to be able to track that, to make sure that we're doing those things so we can have one mission. Other things going on that we already mentioned was that you have the positive, very volatile economics. That we're seeing a lot of very good things from a global macroeconomics level for the U.S., which generally helps out the nonprofit because economics are going up. But there's a lot of volatility, which makes the question: when is things coming in? What is going to happen with the companies? How is that going to flow in, both from a donor perspective or if we partner with a company? So at the end of the day, this leaves finance more and more important to be able to take in the data to help the decision makers make the right decisions with the numbers in mind. So let's keep moving forward. We talked about that 80-20 rule being flipped. This is the pain point that I share with any organization, from the fragmented systems to be able to take data and organize it in order to be able to have a cohesive story of what happened, but also how do we project in the future. When you're talking about nonprofits or other areas, grant complexity, the changing nature of policies that are happening in economics, how do we predict those? And by having some of the tools in place to help you be able to run different scenarios, have the different data at the lower levels, really does help you be able to drive those conversations with meaningful facts that then can help people make decisions. Limited visibility is also a big deal across the board, being able to see the data in the way that you're looking to have it. So all that said, every organization still uses Excel across the board. The question is, are you going to leverage Excel and expand it out, or are you going to just use Excel only? And that's a big different point. So in this case, because I play in the EPM space, And some of you may use Oracle's EPM. There's some other solutions out there as well. The ability to have data come in and organize it and be able to deal with the complexity around huge amounts of data, the rules, the lining of the data to make those decisions in, I would say, near real time is a huge deal from efficiency gains. And we'll talk about that in the Red Cross story. I've touched a lot of different tools, so I definitely wave the flag on the Oracle side from a complexity perspective. And bringing that information into a central hub, organized, helps finance be able to answer those questions at that 5 p.m. or the next day, or when they're about to have some conversations that are either hard or good conversations that are going to be coming. This is the true elevator pitch for EPM. And this is the parts of this stack are being used at the Red Cross right now. If you have more questions about it, reach out. This is not just an infomercial for EPM on this webinar here, but if you do want to know more, reach out. On the left side is a tool stack that focuses on the accounting, that closed report, whether you're dealing with the, FX translations in your global, either global organization one way or the other, helps you be able to bring the books all together, the reconciliation, tax, narrative reporting. If you're on the finance side, you're going to see things like planning and budgeting, and it's different modules that help you be able to plan at different levels, whether they're general ledger, workforce, et cetera. And profitability is one that helps you align data. And then finally, there's one that helps wrap all of this, the views or the hierarchies in place so the entire organization is looking through the same lens at the data that helps the communication style. You're going to find the conversation. Red Cross uses consolidation, planning, and profitability with eyeing some other areas as well. And the stack helps them be able to organize that data in a way that they can use it. I would highly recommend, if you do not have some kind of platform like this one, you do need to consider that, and that will help you in those areas of visibility and the stress that comes with being a part of finance. Speaking of that, let's move into the next area, which is the office of the CFO is changing, and it's ever changing. If many of you people are around the same age as me, I remember my mentor, Ronnie Hegger, talking about when he first joined, there was, 70 people trying to close the books, and now there were 7 because of the, ERP revolution, putting things in place. And now instead of us doing like a journal entry for every transaction, we're just making sure that the tool is doing things correctly and dealing with exceptions and walking through the process. So there's still a lot to do, but you don't need quite that amount of people. If you are a part of this conversation from finance and accounting, you are the 1% to 2% of any organization, both in headcount and dollars, but you control 100% of the numbers, especially from a dollar perspective. So keep that in mind. What we're seeing, though, is you have a good and a bad, that there are less CPAs graduating from college and the accounting and finance side, because they would rather be influencers or other things that are fun. So a lot of the numbers people are, it's being reduced. The need is going up. We have different demographics happening. So there's going to be a lot of change in finance. But when you look at it, you're going to find out that we're also in the other revolution right now, that if you haven't heard, the drums are beating around AI. So I'm going to touch on AI very briefly, because if you're not using them or leveraging them, you will shortly. There's a quote that I'll show you here in a minute. But the question is, are we on that next round of 10x productivity? And how is that going to impact both finance and accounting? Just to make sure we set the stage, you may have seen these circles at any other presentations, et cetera, where you look at artificial intelligence. Machine learning is basically algorithms that have been out for a long time that help you use certain things. Deep learning is when you go and do the research and you go to ChatGPT or someplace like that, or then do the research papers. Generative AI is what you interact with. That could be things that would help you with a commentary, or be able to generate other things that I need an Excel formula that does XYZ. Can you do this? Can you help me out there? It's going to continue to expand. And finally, you have AI agents that can take all this and wrap it out and spit through the automations. Where this is going to hit is it's going to allow you to have AI-powered forecasting. We are currently already leveraging some of the Oracle platform to do predictive planning around metrics and volumes and expectations. So you can use a lot of that for also best case, worst case type of scenarios. Anomaly detection, where the bodies are buried. And then other insights that might be, what is the customer base or the donor base? What does that look like? So the quote that I really do love is, AI won't replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. So you do need to necessarily learn on this one. We're talking 2 to 4 year horizon to where that's going to be ubiquitous everywhere. Great YouTube videos. When we send out the stuff, you can click on these and find out more information should you want to. Final note before we start talking with the Red Cross is that a lot of what I just mentioned for that AI is also built into the EPM platform, and Oracle is making huge investments in that area for everything from predictive planning to that IPM insights, which tells you where the anomalies are within your forecast, and other things like generative AI and narrative reporting. So I can pull up a report and I can say, what happened, and it will give me all the stats and what it would look like. It's still not going to give you the answer of why it happened, but it will at least take the numbers and tell you what happened. With that, I wanted to do some final stats, and let's have a conversation. So our work with the Red Cross and using some of the tools that we're talking about help them be able to understand what drove their blood costing, which we'll talk about, and it dropped their blood collection cost by 28%. It's going to be that controller there, and that will help them do more mission, which I think is great. There's some other ones in here that you can read from other different organizations in the nonprofit space of how you can use tools to be able to leverage technology to be able to make a better impact. With that, let me pause here. Gary, Jennifer, let's have a conversation. And for those of you who are on the phone, put some questions in the chat if you'd like. You can come off of mute. This is a conversation for the next 15, 20 minutes before we get into chocolate. And I just want to hear their story. And I'm just going to ask some questions kind of like, so Carrie, Jennifer, weigh in on this one real quickly. What kind of tools do you use, and what would you think are adding value to your team that other organizations should be considering?
Yeah, with the implementation that we did in partnering with you guys, apps, we implemented the EPM. So at that time, it was before the whole EPM suite, but we're using, as you indicated, planning, consolidation, and profitability today. Those are specifically the Oracle features. We have Oracle EPM, or I'm sorry, ERP system as well. So pairing nicely together there. In addition to just those tools, we use SmartView also for reporting and budgeting, which is part of the Oracle package as well. Mm-hmm. In addition, we use a data warehouse. So we bring a lot of data into the data warehouse, Power BI for reporting from the data warehouse, and of course, Excel. It's difficult to move away from Excel no matter what we do.
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know what SmartView is, a SmartView is just an add-in to Excel. So it allows you to have Excel, but have the ability to pull data from that cube that is EPM.
Which is a really nice, I would say, tool for users who are so used to being in Excel. It gives them that ability to still feel the Excel work in a tool that is sort of comfortable to them, but then it integrates. I mean, it is basically part of Hyperion. So it's that comfort.
Absolutely.
Right.
So when you are looking at the kind of things that you use, and tell us some of your story, but what was some of the most valuable to management? Then we'll talk about to users. So like with this implementation, what did you get out of it? How did it go? What was management's take on it? What kind of value are you grabbing?
So we owned the Hyperion tool prior to when I came to the organization. Jennifer, I think, was here at that time. But we weren't using it to its full capability when I came. So, the organization looked and said, hey, we have this really powerful tool that we're not using to its full capability. Let's really take advantage of this. So instead, we decided to undertake this project of really implementing it for planning, budgeting, management reporting across the organization. And we started with planning and saw how we could increase the efficiencies across the organization. We could tie everybody together, or it became a system of record that we could easily report back on without having to find the right Excel version that you were looking through. And it could do it quickly. And you could look at it in different views easily, rather than, again, having to search through Excel or manipulating data in Excel to get to those views. So I think that the senior leadership really found that valuable, the way to get to data faster and have it be a record of it to get to it very easily if they needed to look at it again later.
Nice. From a user perspective, Jennifer, like what would you say are some of the things that are tools you use on a daily basis, and less of management, but like how has that impacted what you do on a daily basis?
Well, you can't get people out of Excel. So SmartView, the Excel add-on, I would say our users use that the most. We utilize something called a flex form. We rolled that out maybe a couple years ago when it was new, which allows, hate to say, flat file loading into the system for our budgets and forecasts and things of that nature. So that tool has been very helpful to our users, as well as the new reporting. We have a lot of books, which takes multiple reports, puts it into a book. And then we've been batch scheduling those. So those run, say, at 6 a.m. and they wind up in the user's inbox by 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So they don't have to log in, run reports. They don't waste time doing that. The system's doing that on it for them so that they can come in and be ready to do their analysis. So I would say those two things have been huge for our users at this point.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
So from a tool set and some other areas in here. So let me also back up for a second, because I know that we also did some things which I alluded to earlier about the profitability on blood drives, whether it be Carrie or Jennifer. Do you want to kind of give the users an idea of what was done, how it was working, and what kind of the benefits were out of that?
Sure. Jennifer, I'll start. Maybe you can chime in and add what
Okay.
I've missed, because I'm sure there'll be a lot. It was quite a process. But yeah, we used profitability to help us understand the cost of our blood drive. So as Kyle alluded to earlier in the presentation, generous donors donate blood to the Red Cross. We manufacture that blood, meaning we clean it, test it, and then we sell it to hospitals. The selling of that blood, if there is a profit, which we were not profitable in that area for many years, then that goes back to fund the rest of our mission. This profitability allowed us to see into work of a blood drive and what levers we could pull to make blood drives more efficient. So as an example, time spent on drives, I will say, or how much time we were spending setting up for a drive versus tearing down for a drive, whether a drive at a high school, how that profitability compares to a fixed site or a blood drive held at a corporation. So we had more visibility, is what it comes down to through this. We had the visibility to be able to see where we could impact and create more efficiency with blood drives so that we could drive profit in what we were selling to hospitals. Jennifer, what else would you add to that?
Well, we also have another, environment that we utilize to do our gap reporting, which is fully allocated administrative costs. So that has helped us with our internal and external reporting, and that taken another step has helped us with our financial allocation model, which again is taking administrative costs, pushing it down into the chapters, our humanitarian service side, and those reports go into fundraising so we can assist us with fundraising to help our mission.
That's a great point. It's the stewardship reporting that probably a lot of nonprofits are due. So that stewardship reporting made it, again, more efficient, more visibility into how those allocations really work.
Perfect. Last question, then I'm going to really open up the question to the floor for people to be able to ask questions. If you were going to give advice to people in the FP&A and accounting spaces for nonprofits or just frankly organizations, based on y'all's experience, what would y'all advise? What would you say?
I think we all have too much to do, right? Our plates are just overflowing. And it's sometimes hard, right? Implementing a new tool is hard. It's something new to learn. It's something new to do. You have to teach your users. They're uncomfortable, but it creates more time for them to do other things that are really meaningful, especially working in a nonprofit space. We're overflowing with things to do, and it's all meaningful work. So when we can create those efficiencies and that time to allow people, you don't have to spend 4 hours in an Excel spreadsheet. You can automate a process and have a system do it for you. then you have that time to do that other mission related work.
Agree. Jennifer, same question to you.
I put on here first planning, but for us, we had taken, as Carrie had mentioned, we were already on Hyperion and we had 4 different instances and we were consolidating those. So we took all of those lines of business and put them into this one cloud services, I guess our current process, but being open to change, because there was a lot of negotiation, Kyle, as you know, is pulling all those lines of business and what everybody does, pulling it together. So thinking outside of the box, we used an agile approach, which I'll throw that out there, which I thought was, a lot better for us than say a waterfall approach. So you can move through it, doing little bits at a time and being able to tweak as you move along, or putting things on the parking lot, so to speak, if it's too much effort or needs to be discussed or solved, problems that need to be solved. So and getting users involved earlier than later, doing some UATs, user acceptance testing, getting them involved in some of the decisions and getting them involved in those UATs. It helps.
Especially those
Absolutely.
influential people that can
Yes.
help drive it through the organization. You have the users that are involved and they're loud and they're the ones you want to involve early.
Change management, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And just to fair, I mean, whether you're doing a big project or small project, I think those things kind of all align no matter how you slice it is, making sure you understand those things and chunking things correctly. That's one of the things that I felt like we did really well was we didn't try and boil the ocean. It was, let's tackle this and let's tackle that. And by doing that, you get a snowball effect, especially from a team perspective. You guys were great to work with. We had a lot of fun doing it. But then you started being able to do that. You're laughing which plays into the next part, which should be fun as well. So also for those of you who are joining and you're seeing the fun conversation here, we play different games. And one of the games that we did do, which was Carrie did, we brought in a bunch of different Reese's Pieces, like Reese's Pieces, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Mini Reese's, Reese's Eggs, whatever. And we did a chocolate tasting as one of our fun little things. It's just one of our kind of breaks on our couple-day sessions that we would do together at different phases, which leads into how we have a chocolate part of a webinar here. So with that, I do want to open it up, but as we start to get Willy Wonka, who's also known as Dave, to continue the conversation, I do want to see if we have any questions directly related for the Red Cross. If you want to come off of mute, everybody has the permissions to be able to do it. And since this is I would say a mid-sized crowd, we can just have an open conversation. So is there any questions directly for the Red Cross about their experience, their current process, or is everybody ready for chocolate?
I see a question in the chat, Kyle.
All right,
it's asking if we've implemented narrative reporting. We have not yet implemented narrative reporting. We've had some conversations around it. This is something actually Kyle and I have been discussing how we can continue to grow our existing process. We took a very phased approach, and I would say we're at a maturity phase right now where we're comfortable with what we're doing. We've got our users on board. So now we're looking at how we can expand that, grow that, make our users a little bit uncomfortable again for that growth. And part of that, I do think, will be narrative reporting as we continue to explore.
Good question. It really is a great tool when you have the foundation in place. And especially some of those AI things that are coming in now for that generative AI to help you with the commentary, it also helps out some. Yeah. Good questions. Any other questions? All right. Let me wrap up. We got another one here. How many users do you support in EPM?
At 121, I think.
Plus profitability, so probably 130, around 130.
Plus FCCS.
150 or less. We have a relatively small group because we really focus it on finance. And as I mentioned, then the data is moving into data warehouse and into Power BI for reporting. So we really rely on our finance team to report that data to senior leadership. As an example, not everybody in the organization has a license. It's a finance tool for us in our organization.
Which is also, I'm just going to throw that in with the batch scheduling for the reports. That's also nice to have because you don't have a license. It'll run the report for you and send it to your email box. You don't have to have a license to get that email. So that's really good for some of the upper level directors and above that don't have a license, that don't want to be in there every day, but they can get their reports, like Carrie's boss, can get their reports every month in without having a license. So that's also an advantage of that scheduling of reports.
So from my experience, the range of any finance is generally that 1% to 2%. Red Cross, is obviously a well-known name, but there's well over 10,000 employees. So when you're talking about those, it can scale any direction. So we have EPM implementations from 10, 15 users all the way up to a couple hundred. So anywhere in between, the platform is designed to handle all that and all the way up. So hopefully that answers your question. Other questions? All right. You can come off of mute if anybody wants to, especially as we move into the chocolate area. I would encourage us to do so. All right. So Martina says, does Red
Here's
Cross
another question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was just telling you there's another question.
Perfect. In fact, we have a couple of ones in here. So I have, does the Red Cross use EPM for multi-year forecasting? If so, what level of detail are you planning?
We were just having a conversation about this yesterday. Jennifer, do you want to answer this one?
We do have a forecasting process where we are doing, it's available to do 2 years at a time. Where some of it for the blood side is P times Q. But the rest of it is it's a different level. So we have a very long accounting string and it's difficult, but it's at a condensed level at this point, but we're moving towards a little more detailed level, and hopefully one day we'll be able to just forecast and not do budget mods. I'm saying that out loud, Carrie, but it's wishful thinking. Put it out there. So we do forecast. We've been in and out of it, but at this point we're starting back up with it, and yeah, it does allow for multiple year forecasting. Yeah.
And it's actually something Kyle and I have talked about again, of how we can get that AI use and predictive analytics in to help make forecasting a little bit easier in the system. So again, trying to grow our tools a little bit.
Right.